Police are aware of past matters involving Mr Hussain, and a senior officer is continuing to investigate a number of allegations he has previously reported to establish what offences have occurred. Police also want to trace this car which may have been seen in Manningham prior to the attack. Nisar Hussain, meanwhile, hopes to be out of hospital in a few days, but is concerned what the future may hold for his family. Chris Giddy, ITV News.
Well, joining us now from the Ramadan Foundation is Mohammed Shafiq. Good to see you again, Mohammed. What do you make of what's been happening to the Hussain family and this latest episode?
Well, it's absolutely sickening. We live in a free society and people should be free to choose whichever faith they want to without fear or favour. And my thoughts are with Nasir Hussain and his family. We totally deplore this. And, you know, I've written this evening to the Council of Mosques and also to local councillors, including the MPs, asking them to take drastic action because this sort of behaviour is unacceptable and should not be tolerated in our society.
He firmly believes that faith is at the root of this. It's not a local dispute. It's because he has converted. Yeah,
clearly it looks like that, and obviously we're going to have to understand the reasons behind why people choose to do this. But, you know, it's undeplorable. We have Muslims that have, physically attacked and murdered in this country, and rightly so we stand up and speak out. And when it's the other way around, we should not shy away. There are an element of thugs within our community who think this sort of, mindless violence is acceptable, and we've got to confront that.
Are you aware within the community of a bad feeling to people who are Christians living within an Islamic community?
Yeah, on the whole, people live, and I think if you listen to what Nasir Hussain has been saying today, relatively strong support from neighbours and the rest of the community. It's a small minority of thugs who spoil it for everybody. And we've got to do everything to support people. Clearly, there are a number of people who come into Islam, and there are some who leave Islam. And, you know, in a democracy and in a free society as great as ours, we should support that.
But this can never be right. Fireworks being fired at a house like this, we're about to show you again there. This was the attack just a couple of weeks ago when Mr Hussain came onto Calendar and 16 days ago saying he's got 2 daughters. You know, they didn't feel as though they could leave the house. And he feels that he had to move away from Bradford. He hasn't moved away soon enough, it looks like.
Yeah, it's shocking, and you know, I'm a father. I've got children myself, and I can't imagine what his family is going through. So we stand with him in solidarity. But I think also what's very important is there's been a weak response from West Yorkshire Police. For weeks and months, they've refused to class it as a hate crime when it clearly is a hate crime, and now they're offering weasel words. And I would urge West Yorkshire Police to do whatever they can to protect that family and to build the culprits to justice.
It does seem to have taken them a long time, and we were reported on that the other week, and they were actually saying then, oh, it's not a hate crime. Now everything seems to have stepped up. Do you just think they're thinking this is going too far?
Yes, it is going too far. And what will it take for them to actually, stand up against these thugs? The police are there to protect communities, and clearly in this case, they've utterly failed.
Yeah, you can see just going about his daily business, and suddenly there he is, attacked. It seems that they just simply cannot move out of their home. What would you do? What are you going to do to tackle this kind of attitude?
Well, as I've said, I've written tonight to the Council of Mosques, and I'm having discussions with a number of councillors in the area to step up patrols and to step up more interfaith work between communities. You know, if they think they're doing Islam a service by doing what they are, they're a disgrace, and the sooner they are caught and brought to justice, the better.
Mohammed Shafiq from the Ramadan Foundation, thank you very much indeed for coming in. Well, next, the mother of 2 children who were stabbed to death in Bradford earlier this week has been remanded in custody after being charged with their murder.
Samira Lapidi, who's 24, was due to appear at Bradford Magistrates Court today but was unable to attend. This morning, West Yorkshire Police released the names and pictures of her children. Here's Adam Fowler.
On the day their mother was due to appear in court charged with murder, West Yorkshire Police has released these images of the alleged victims. 1-year-old Jasmine Weaver and 3-year-old Evelyn Lupidi. An examination by the coroner yesterday concluded that both girls died from multiple stab wounds. Police were called to an address in Undercliff in the north-east of Bradford on Tuesday morning by paramedics. They'd been treating the children for stab wounds but were unable to save them.
24-year-old Samira Lupidi has been charged with murder but did not appear in court today. In her absence, the case was described as so serious that it could only be dealt with by the Crown Court. She's now due to appear there on Monday. She's been remanded in custody until then. Adam Fowler, ITV News, Bradford Magistrates Courts.
Well, next tonight, news that junior doctors in England have voted overwhelmingly in favour of going on strike in their dispute with the government over a new contract.
98% voted for a full strike and 99% were in favour of action, just short of a full strike. The first walkout will be December the 1st, followed by action on December the 8th and on the 16th. Well, the BMA said 76% of its members took part.
Joining us now in the studio live are junior doctors Dr Phil Atkinson, who organised a demonstration in Leeds last month, and Dr Del Wicharatney.
Dr Phil, can I talk to you first? I mean, this is a big step. This is a massive step for doctors to go on strike. Why do you feel it's a necessary step?
Because we've tried absolutely everything else. We are concerned that the contract that's being imposed on us is unsafe for our patients, unfair on doctors and threatens the future of the NHS. And that's why we first of all wrote to the Health Secretary, we contacted the media, we did everything in our power, including organised large demonstrations, to try and get them to listen to us. And that's failed, and that's why you've seen the unprecedented move of 98% of doctors who responded choosing to move towards industrial action.
Del, is this a done deal? Is this definitely going to happen now?
There is still a chance for Mr Hunt to say, listen, I'm happy to negotiate with you with an open negotiation, and what the BMA have asked for today is for a negotiation which is moderated by ACAS, which is an independent adjudicating organisation. And the reason that we've asked for that is because although Mr Hunt in the media has said that there are no preconditions to this negotiation, there is still one major precondition, and that is that Mr Hunt has reserved the right to impose this contract on us if he doesn't agree with what we negotiate.
Well, let's just have a look at what the Health Secretary, Jeremy Hunt, has actually said about this.
This is very, very disappointing news today. We want to be able to promise NHS patients that they will get the same high quality care every day of the week, and study after study has shown that our mortality rates at weekends are too high. We put forward a very fair offer for doctors, which will see pay go up for 3/4 of junior doctors. We wanted to talk about this to them, but in the end they've chosen to strike, so we will now have to put in place contingency plans to make sure that patients are safe.
He's very disappointed. He's given you a fair deal, and you're putting patients at risk.
It's not our intention in any way, shape or form to put patient safety at risk. There will be significant disruption to services as a result of this industrial action, and that is to free up our consultant colleagues to provide the urgent and emergent care that takes place in the NHS 7 days a week.
Mr Hunt mentions the studies that he's basing the 7-day working plan on. One of the big reasons that trust has broken down between Mr Hunt and junior doctors is that we feel he's misrepresenting this evidence to us.
And the thing is that the people who are on the street aren't seeing the full picture according to yourselves. Let's hear what some people had to say a little earlier in Leeds.
I wouldn't want to be treated by a doctor who'd worked really long hours, because they're more likely to make mistakes.
No, I'm really, really upset that they've done that. I understand some of the reasoning, but I think it's been a PR disaster for the government.
They've got a right to do so, obviously, but disappointed that they've needed to come to that state.
I think generally it looks like you've got quite a lot of support in the public who do see doctors very stretched in hospitals, don't they? What do you think the consequences of this will be if it is imposed?
So we've said from the outset that we are concerned this will compromise patient safety. One of the key aspects is that the current financial safeguards that prevent trusts overworking their junior doctors are to be stripped away in this new contract. And that will potentially lead us back to the bad old days when doctors were working excessive hours. And as a member of the public has just said, tired doctors make mistakes. And that is not something we want to be in a position to do.
An exodus, just very briefly, an exodus from people from the health service after all the training they've done?
It would be a terrible, terrible shame. And the problem is that doctors are a highly mobile workforce, and if our conditions are decimated, then people may feel compelled to leave, and it's a terrible shame.
OK, Del and Phil, we've got to leave it there. Obviously, this could change before December the 1st, but thanks very much. Yes, you hope so. We will see what happens. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Well, still to come, Ashley has dementia, the Emmerdale storyline that could help thousands of families.
And that familiar mix of sunshine and showers today. Downpours 1 minute, the sun coming out the next. It hasn't been terribly cold though, but all that is about to change. Details coming up soon.
Next tonight, the family of a pensioner who was left for dead by thieves who stole his life savings have appealed for help from those police believe are shielding his attackers.
Tommy Ward, who's 80, suffered a fractured skull, broken ribs and a broken jaw during a sustained beating at his home at Maltby in South Yorkshire. David Hurst's report contains some distressing images.
Just yards from the sickening attack on Tommy Ward, his daughter and granddaughter came here today to ask for justice and for answers. How anyone could leave a defenceless old man with such terrible injuries, and why someone should believe it right to shield those who carried out an attack on a man who served his country and community as a soldier and a miner.
You wouldn't like that to happen to any of your parents, grandparents or anything like that. Who's ever done this, well, they're heartless, aren't they, really, at the end of the day. We're just appealing to somebody what knows something to come forward and let us know who's done it.
This shocking photograph released today by police shows the extent of Tommy's injuries. Detectives say they've been appalled at the level of violence used against him. His attackers fractured his skull and broke his rib and also snapped his index finger.
Someone may have come home with blood on their clothing. We know in Tommy's house there was a significant amount of money. Does anybody know anyone who may have come into money? Maybe showing some spending? The important part is that people who commit offences of this nature deserve no protection at all.
You've got any further information? Getting that help is vital because so far Tommy's condition means he hasn't been able to speak to officers. But they believe the answer lies either in or close to the town of Maltby. For Tommy's family, visiting him in hospital is an emotional roller coaster.
1 minute is all right, and we're picking up them because we think he's going to be, you know, getting well, and then it's day after it's back to square one again. You know, it's devastating seeing him in that condition.
Tommy's family say he'll never return here to his home. All they hope for now is that he'll make a full recovery from his terrible injuries. 7 weeks after the attack, and today increased police patrols in Maltby to reassure local people. 2 men, both 19, remain on police bail. But detectives say the investigation is far from over. David Hurst, ITV News, Maltby.
Now, one of the most recognisable voices on Yorkshire television for more than 25 years, continuity announcer Redvers Kyle, has died aged 86.
This is Yorkshire Television. Now the intricate world of Home and Away.
Redvers, who introduced programmes without ever being seen by viewers, retired in 1993 after joining ITV in 1968. He first worked at Associated Rediffusion in the 50s after emigrating from his native South Africa.
Next tonight, hundreds of ex-servicemen gathered in Doncaster today to pay their last respects to a brave war hero who's died at the age of 102.
Yes, Eric Clark was the town's oldest surviving World War II veteran. He was well known for flying a series of daring bombing missions across the Channel, as Sarah Clark reports.
A true gentleman and a proud military man. Just some of the tributes paid to Eric Clark by family, friends and veterans as they attended his funeral today at Rosehill Crematorium in Doncaster.
Dad was an ordinary individual, but he was proud to serve his country and did everything he could to the best of his ability.
He was a true gentleman. He always tilted his hat. You don't see that today.
Eric joined the Royal Air Force in 1940, aged 27, and quickly rose through the ranks to become flight lieutenant. He risked his life in 26 operations over 15 months with the Bomber Command 49 Squadron. He also flew 3 different planes, including a Lancaster bomber. In 2012, he spoke to Calendar at the unveiling of a memorial to honour the crew of a crashed Lancaster bomber.
I've had a life since those horrible days, but they didn't. When you were rumbling down the runway and taking off, your thoughts were really of fear. So I used to think, am I going to get burned? Am I going to have to bail out?
91-year-old Kenneth Johnson was also with Bomber Command and was a good friend of Eric's.
It's great to be able to honour his memory. Well, I hope they'll always remember them. I know I shall, as long as I live anyway.
Eric will also be remembered by those he inspired too.
It was an absolute inspiration. It was just a privilege, and just all the stories that he had and all the memories that he's got himself and all the memories that we as cadets will have of him. It's just amazing. He was truly was an inspirational man.
Sarah Clark, ITV News in Doncaster.
Well, now it promises to be an emotional episode of Emmerdale tonight when fans will see the soap's vicar diagnosed with the early onset of vascular dementia.
After an accident earlier and months of forgetfulness, Ashley Thomas breaks down in despair, knowing his future is going to be bleak.
In a moment, we'll be speaking to the Alzheimer's Society, who've been working with actor John Middleton on how best to portray some of the trickiest scenes in Ashley's dementia journey. Gaynor Barnes reports.
Well, I suppose I'd lose my train of thought sometimes, forget why I'd come into a room, the usual things that come with age.
But the news is something Vicar Ashley Thomas has feared for some time.
My concern is that your symptoms are unrelated to your accident. Looking at your age and test score, there's a chance that it could be the early onset of dementia.
The final diagnosis for Ashley is one chapter closing and another chapter opening. Within the story, Ashley has developed a strategy to try and hide it from people, which is a very, very common thing that people do. So he has his notebook, which he writes everything down in. That's his memory, and he completely relies on that. So if he loses it, which happens, he's lost. He's completely lost.
In this country alone, 850,000 people are living with a form of dementia. It's estimated nearly 150,000 of these have vascular dementia, which is caused by problems with blood supply to the brain.
I've got dementia. The last time I checked, there is no cure. I can barely admit it to myself.
All this time you've kept it to yourself.
I have seen what this disease does to people, not just the sufferers, but the people who give up their entire lives looking after them. Do you think Harriet wants to know about that?
For us, it's upsetting to a certain extent, but nowhere near as upsetting as it is for the friends and relatives, because we see these people as they are now. They have a memory of them as they were, and these were significant figures in their lives. You lose the person twice. The person that they used to be goes, and then ultimately they will die.
Over the coming months, Ashley and his loved ones will come to terms with his progressive illness. His journey helping many more understand the impact of this devastating disease. Gaynor Barnes, ITV News, Leeds.
Well, joining us in the studio now is Catherine Smith from the Alzheimer's Society. Thanks very much indeed for coming and talking to us. Watching out there, we know that's a television, we know that's drama, but this is real life for so many people. What difference will it make having this storyline in Emmerdale?
Do you know, I think it's fantastic that Emmerdale are picking up this storyline, because 1 in 3 people are affected by dementia in this country. Everybody will come across it at some point in their lives, and it's really helpful the more people that can be aware dementia exists, what the impact it can be and how they can help and make a person feel more able to integrate within the communities and not feel isolated. I think the more we can raise the awareness, the better, and Emmerdale's doing a great job by highlighting that.
I think one of the things that, Ashley said there that he thought, well, I'm forgetful when I walk in a room, I'll walk into a room, not know why I've gone in. I think a lot of us would relate to that. But there's a big difference, obviously, between doing that and having vascular dementia, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. We all do it. We all walk into the room, we've forgotten our keys, we can't remember why we went in the room, whatever. I think it happens to everybody. I think the time when people need to worry is if it's affecting their lives, if it's happening more and more often, if it's having an impact on the daily life, on the work, on the family. They start to become worried about the memory, then they need to seek help. They need to speak to the GP, speak to the family, ring Alzheimer's Society helpline and get some advice there. You know, if we think about cancer at one point, there was a stigma with cancer. People didn't want to say cancer, it was a big C. And we still have that with dementia, and there's such fear around it. And, there's no denying that it is a cruel disease, but people can live better and can live well with dementia with the right support and care. And if they find out about it, then that's the best thing that they can do to help them to manage it better.
It's very important for the family to be involved, because sometimes, as I know, the other partner is so full of guilt.
Yes.
for not being able to do anything to stop or help someone who's got a progressive disease like this.
Yeah, it is one of the diseases that does tend to bring out a lot of guilt in the informal carers, in the family. And I think that's guilt that they feel that they can't help, they can't do anything about it. It's guilt that they might be struggling themselves, they feel frustrated. And I think it is important to recognise that it's okay to ask for help and it's okay to feel guilty. And you might need some support yourself sometimes in terms of how you manage, how you help your loved one with their dementia.
OK, well, if anyone wants any more information on the Alzheimer's Society, if you go to our website, itv.com/calendar, we'll be linking you to your site where you can get all the advice and help that you need. Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you.
Got a little bit of sport for you now. Bradford City will play Southern League side Chesham in the FA Cup second round after seeing off Aldershot in their first round replay. It took until just after the hour mark for the Bantams to break the deadlock thanks to this exquisite chip from fullback Greg Lee. And the tie was then settled when Luke James was fouled in the box and Tony McMahon converted that penalty.
Now, the mother of a York student who drowned in the River Ouse has today collected a posthumous degree in her daughter's name.
Yes, Megan Roberts from Wetherby never lived to complete her studies after the tragic accident nearly 2 years ago when she stumbled into the river after a night out.
Well, today, Jackie Roberts was at York Minster to collect the award alongside Megan's friends and fellow students who are also receiving their degrees. Katie Oscroft reports on a proud but poignant day for Megan's mother.
Graduates and their proud families at York Minster today, amongst them friends of a young woman who studied alongside them but died in her second year of a fine art degree. Megan Roberts was 20 and enjoying life when her body was found. She became separated from her friends on a night out and fell into the River Ouse.
It's been very emotional actually, the actual going up to get the award, but yeah, I am really, really proud. Yeah.
What do you think Megan would have made of today?
Well, one of the things that we've just been commenting on, she'd have been so pleased about Professor Filch being there, David Brad. I mean, she just loved Harry Potter, so when she was younger, so she'd have been absolutely thrilled to see him. But yeah, I think she'd have just been very, very proud of all her friends. I'm trying to sort of picture what she would have looked like in the gown, and you know whether she'd have made it up onto the stage without falling over. Megan's was the last of the graduate degrees. She did hers sort of at the end. And just announced Megan's degree, and which was going to be collected by her mum, and then it all kind of went quiet, and then I went up and the Chancellor, who's fab, said well done, it's very sad, and everybody stood up and made a lot of noise, so it was lovely.
Jackie Roberts has successfully campaigned for better safety alongside the river since her daughter's death. Megan's accident, she believes, could have happened to anyone. It's been a day here for proud families as graduates put their studies behind them and look forwards to the future. For everyone close to Megan Roberts, it's been another milestone they've had to mark without her. Katie Oscroft, ITV News, York.
Proud moment there for
very
Megan's
sad
mum,
day,
Jackie.
but very poignant.
Yes, indeed. John's here now with the weather.
Yes, a little nugget of information for you. Get this, the average minimum overnight temperature in June this year was 9.0 Celsius. And the average minimum overnight temperature this November so far has been 8.1 Celsius. Less than 1 degree difference between June and November.
That's pretty unusual,
Pretty
isn't it?
amazing, yes. Thank you to Rob Brooks from Farsley for that nugget of information. But also, this is about to dramatically change. We've got northerly winds, as I said the other day, coming down from somewhere north of Iceland. And as that cold air digs in, we're going to get some sleet and snow developing. This is tomorrow night, not tonight. But by Saturday morning, many of us could wake up to a covering of snow, certainly up over the North York Moors and the Wolds as well. Now, there was a bit of an aurora last night and Graham Telford managed to catch it on film out at Towton. Now, he said it was very difficult to capture due to the wind shaking his camera, but you can just see it on the horizon there. And the lorry driver apparently was completely oblivious to it all with his curtains closed all the time. Thank you very much for that. You can send me your weather photos to weatherphotos@itv.com. That's weatherphotos@itv.com.
Thanks very much indeed. John, now We're going out tonight together, aren't we?
Oh, we are. Yes, we're out on the town, aren't we?
Out on the town, yes, and you'll be able to see it on the programme tomorrow night because it is the Yorkshire Young Achievers Awards at Ellen Road this evening, where some of the most amazing talent that this county has to offer will be on show.
I know, it's always an amazing night, isn't it? And we're going to be, well, some very special people.
Yeah. We've seen the script.
We know who's going to win, and there are some great winners tonight, so we're looking forward to bringing all that to you tomorrow on tomorrow night's programme.
But now, Mr Mitchell has made his way to the map, and here he is.
It's always sunny somewhere. Thomson sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Hello again. So, sunshine and showers today, and there's always an upside to showers and sunshine, and that is a rainbow or two. Here's one over Hunslet. So, as I say, a big change taking place then. Daytime highs today, 10 or 11 Celsius in that westerly wind, but by Saturday that wind's gone round to the north, and daytime highs 3, 4, 5 Celsius. So a big change on the way. But first of all, for this evening and overnight tonight, still a number of showers this evening, but they will become confined to the Pennines overnight with a lot of dry weather and a low temperature of 4 or 5 Celsius, and much less windy compared to last night. There's your sun times then for tomorrow, up at 7:42, setting just after 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. So tomorrow morning we'll all see some sunshine around. There will be a scattering of showers over North and West Yorkshire, moving their way southwards during the course of the day. So many of us catching a shower, but a lot of dry weather too, and a top temperature struggling at around 8 Celsius. So as I say, first thing on Saturday morning, a covering of snow, not exclusively over high ground, possibly on lower ground as well, and a bitterly cold north to northwesterly wind, and a keen frost on Saturday night. Have a nice evening.
Thomson sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Thanks very much, John. That's it from us. Our next update is at 10:30.
The national and international stories are next with Mary Nightingale and Mark Austin.
But now from the entire team here on Calendar, thanks very much for watching. We'll see you tomorrow at 6.
Bye-bye.